On this episode of Locked On Angels, Jack Kochanowicz was named the 5th starter for our Halos. So what does that mean for Reid Detmers? Well, he will have a role. And what's his role? And how does he feel about it? Let's talk about it on Locked On Angels. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John. And this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube and leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins.
Happy Tuesday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John. And John, we're coming off the highest rated show that we've done in the last year. Who would have thought that the Jose Suarez getting traded show would have been the highest show in the last year?
Are you joking, or is that true?
I'm not joking. I went and looked at the views and the downloads, and I laughed and I laughed and I laughed.
Well, we were so excited we released it early than our normal start time here on YouTube. But yeah, it was certainly quite the conversation starter, right, Mike? But we are here 5 days a week talking Angels baseball with you every Monday through Friday. On today's show, we're sharing the questions that the Halos answered this spring. Jeff Fletcher had a great article in the OC Register that kind of highlighted those questions, how they were answered. We're going to recap that game against the Dodgers last night. But first, we finally know, after so much speculation, who is going to be the 5th starter in the rotation. Mike, let's talk about it.
Yeah, Jack Kochanowicz was named the 5th starter. Reid Detmers is going to go to the bullpen per Ron Washington. The battle between Kochanowicz and Detmers came to a close on Sunday night after the Dodger game, and Kochanowicz was called into Wash's office. Perry Manassian and Barry Enright were in there, and they let him know that he is going to be in this starting rotation. Kochanowicz said that Wash told him, "You earned the spot, and to continue to be who you are, and don't change who you are, keep doing that." Kochanowicz said that he gave everyone in the room 2 hugs, 2 hugs each, and then he called his parents and his girlfriend to let him know the news.
He's a hugger like me.
I like hugging.
Kochanowicz did get into 4 games during spring training. He also had a game against a minor league start where they had a little bit more control over his pitch count. So he had 5 games in total, but he did have a 2.92 ERA, 1.22 whip, 7 strikeouts and 5 walks across 12 1/3 innings pitched. Pitched in 6 games over the course of that spring. Of course, he had a 2.79 ERA. This is Detmers, by the way. Detmers pitched in 6 games, a 2.79 ERA with a 1.09 whip, 17 strikeouts in 19 1/3 innings pitched. On the decision, Wash said, watching the way Kochanowicz pitched, and he's been doing it since September all the way through spring training, he won the job. Not that Detmers lost it. We just had to make a choice. He also said they spoke to Detmers on Sunday, and Reid told him that he's ready to take on a new role as a reliever. He said Detmers will join Ian Anderson as long inning relievers for the Angels. And this is what Wash had to say about Detmers. He said he just wants to pitch, and whatever he needs to do to help the team, he's willing to do it. And then talking about him being in the bullpen, Wash said, I'm not saying he's going to be a bullpen piece for the rest of his career, but right now, that's what he fits best for us. And then Reid Detmers said, obviously being a starter is where I'd like to be, and I believe that's where I'll end up eventually. But right now, it's getting off to a different path. I'm looking forward to it. Whatever way I can help the team win is what I'm going to do. It is what it is. I'm not mad about it. I'm excited to go on with this new role and get things going. So a lot of questions coming out of this to discuss, Mike, and that's why our everydayers are here, because these are topics worth discussing. Now, first question, what do you think Jack did to earn him this spot in the rotation?
Pitch efficiency, your favorite phrase, your favorite 2 words, right? Because Kochanowicz went out there and threw strike 1. Kochanowicz went out there and didn't look like he was out of control. The times that he was struggling, it was because they were hitting the ball and they found holes. They weren't hitting it incredibly hard, but they were hitting the ball and they found holes. That's always going to be the tension with Jack Kochanowicz, is that he's either going to get a lot of ground balls at the infielders, or those ground balls are going to find a hole in the infield. And when they find the hole in the infield, that's just going to be the reality of the situation, right? He is not going to be a guy who gets himself into trouble. He's not going to be a guy who's going to find himself behind in the pitch count. And that's why I think he won this spot. And I think Wash is right. Detmers didn't lose it. Jack Kochanowicz won it. And a part of why Detmers isn't in this spot is because he gets himself into trouble. And he finds all sorts of ways to go from an 0-2 count to a 3-2 count, and then ends up walking a guy or giving up a hit. And I even said about his last appearance in spring, he gave up a few hits and he walked a few guys, and it was against the like second tier, third tier type of player, which was concerning for me. And so I think we saw this decision coming from a mile away because of the way that they were using Reid Detmers during the spring, especially in his last couple of appearances, coming in after Kyle Hendricks. And so I think what Jack Kochanowicz did was what he did last year and needs to continue to do. Strike one, strike two, pitching that sinker low in the zone, getting a lot of ground balls. That's the key to his success.
Yeah. When I think about these two pitchers, I think about the fact that Reid Detmers obviously has the more expanded pitch mix. He's got a lot of pitches that he can throw up there, and he's got the building blocks of a starter. That's what you need, is a good pitch mix. With Kochanowicz, there's not a lot to offer. He throws a curveball, he throws the sinker, he throws the fastball, and I think sometimes he throws a changeup in there as well. But he's mostly that two-pitch guy. And if he is able to work everything down and then get hitters to look down while he throws the fastball at the top of the zone, think about what Jose Soriano has done in the last two outings, where he's working down and then getting guys to swing at stuff at the top. I think that's what Jack Kochanowicz is going to have to do. Remember, my concern was, I think he needs to add some strikeout ability. And I pointed to that Jose Ramirez at bat he had against him, where Ramirez made him work, man, and ate up a lot of his pitches because he just couldn't get the ball past him. That's going to be the biggest learning point, I think, for Jack Kochanowicz this season. Not that he needs to be this huge strikeout guy, because again, his repertoire is pitch efficiency. He gets a lot of stuff on the ground. He gets ground ball outs. He gets lazy flyouts, things like that. But you're going to have to add that weapon to your repertoire so that you can continue to be a successful pitcher. Mike, we talked about this a while back. Do you want to win with Jack Kochanowicz, or do you want to develop with Reid Detmers? And you said, I want to win.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to win too. But then we also thought that it seemed like the writing was on the wall for Detmers to get that spot. But here we are with Jack Kochanowicz getting that spot. My biggest thing about Detmers and what this means for his mentality, I think that being with the major league club and not in AAA, even though that's kind of how we thought this would go down, one of these guys going to AAA to start the season. Look, it makes so much sense to have Reid with this team around Barry Enright, around Sal Fasano, around Travis d'Arnaud, around Kyle Hendricks, right? There's no point in sending him away again and quote unquote demoting him to AAA, because he needs to be around the guys who are on the major league club. And so to me, this makes more sense than demoting him. I know that the pitch mix is too good for a bullpen role, I guess you could say, too good, but you're right. It's everything that Kochanowicz does well, and everything Reid Detmers still needs to work on that put these two guys in the spots that they earned.
You know what this decision says about the team for me, John, is it says that they are washing their hands of doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And that's been the accusation against the Angels for years, is that it's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing and expecting different results. We're starting to see this team not do the same thing over and over and over again, getting rid of Suarez, and now making this decision and having Kochanowicz be in the starting rotation. You and I wrestled with that. Our heart said, man, we got to go with Kochanowicz. And I've been a Reid Detmers homer. I've loved that guy and have celebrated that guy. But I love the move of putting Kochanowicz in this starting rotation. for the reasons we've already stated, but also because it's an announcement that this team isn't going to try to do what they've done in the past. They're going to try something new and something fresh, which I love, which brings to the third question, John.
Yeah, hit me.
There's a lot of guys in this bullpen and they need to get rid of two of them. So who's out? Now, just before you answer that, remember Ryan Johnson and Zephyr John both have options, so they can be optioned down. However, Zephyr John has already been talked about by Wash as being somebody who's going to be a key guy in the bullpen piece in the 7th inning, 8th inning, in those big moments. So what do they do? Do they release Quijada and Perdomo? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, when I think about the bullpen, you don't want to exhaust all of your healthy options, right? And so when I think about this bullpen, first of all, Zephyr John's not going anywhere. He hit 100 miles an hour last night.
Looked good.
Mike, we're going to talk about Quijada and his performance later, and I have a whole rant in store about that. But the fact is, I think if you want to maintain the availability of your arms, I think Perdomo has to start the year in the bullpen with Ryan Johnson down in the minor leagues, because there will be an injury. There will be somebody who doesn't perform, and then Ryan Johnson will take that place. I'd love to see him from the get-go, but what I'm worried about is when you've exhausted all the guys that you have in your bullpen, you need somebody that you can go to in order to replace them injury-wise. And if there's nobody behind Ryan Johnson, like you've gotten rid of Perdomo, then you're just kind of up a creek without a paddle. So I think that it's key for these guys to think about the fact that Ryan Johnson's been electric. He's been fun to watch. He took on I think it was everybody except for Mookie, really. He took on most of those Dodgers last night and did really well. And the fact is, I want to see him in this bullpen. But I also think that you've got to be wise about how quickly you ship off different arms that you have available to you. I do want to see them release Quijada. I don't think that he's earned a spot in this bullpen. No. I don't think he's earned a spot on this roster. If they DFA him and he goes through waivers, fine. Then you can keep him in AAA, where if you do have an injury, then you're going to be just fine. So maybe that's the direction they go, Mike, is they just simply DFA Quijada, and then there's a little bit more wiggle room for everybody in this bullpen. This decision doesn't need to be made official until Thursday. But Mike, if we're going to go back to what you said, where the Angels aren't doing the same things over and over and over again by putting somebody like Reid Detmers in the bullpen and giving Jack Kochanowicz a spot in the rotation, then Quijada is doing the same thing over and over and over again. And we just got through talking about Jose Suarez and how this is an unserious team if he's going to take a bullpen spot. Well, now we have the option of having another guy who doesn't deserve a bullpen spot be moved out of it so that they can really stack who they have in the bullpen to start the season well. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, we got more questions that the Halos needed to answer during spring training. We're going to share what Jeff Fletcher had to say and what we had to say. We'll get into that in just a minute.
Johnny, I'm about 2 weeks into using Just Ingredients, and I've been using their pre-workout before I go and work out. And you know what I love about it is it doesn't make me jittery. I've had some other pre-workout before, and it makes me really jittery, but Just Ingredients doesn't make me jittery, and I'm thankful for that. So I think you should try it as well, because it's great at fueling your body. It's great at helping you to feel good, and it's great at affirming what it is that you're doing at the gym. Their ingredients are NSF certified. It's a great line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine. And Just Ingredients is partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. Just Ingredients provides wholesome, nourishing ingredients without all of the artificial junk. Whether you're recovering from a workout or you need an energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. Visit justingredients.us/Bryce Harper. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off your order. And for more wellness tips, go to Instagram and follow Just Ingredients at just.ingredients. Again, on Instagram.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. If you've ever checked your bank account and wondered, where did all my money go? I feel like, around this time of year, it feels like that, especially, the beginning of the year. And where'd everything go? But between dining out, You do a little online shopping you didn't tell your spouse about. Not that that happened to me. And going out for entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. They are your personal CFO, giving you visibility and control fully over your finances. Not just a budgeting app, Monarch Money is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop managing your money and start building your wealth. Take control of managing your money with your partner, and it makes it smoother than ever with Monarch Money. You can track shared and personal accounts. You can set goals, and you can stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use our code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Again, monarchmoney.com. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB and get half off your first year. They're already saving you money thanks to our friends at Monarch Money.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. And this is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Now, full disclosure, as John and I got ready to record this episode of Locked On Angels, we had notes from last night's game, had some good highlights. John's got a bit of a rant, but we put the notes down before the game finished. And then I got an alert that said that the Angels came back last night, which is fantastic. Jorge Soler hits a home run in the ninth inning, which made it 4-3. And then David Mershon grounded out, and they scored a run. Chucky Robinson scored, and then Taylor Ward had a line drive single that walked it off for the Halos last night. So, Dodger fans. I know it's spring. I don't care. But it was a fun game to watch. Let's go back and let's talk about the pitching in this one. John, you mentioned Ryan Johnson and how he did against the Dodgers' best hitters, but he did really well against the Dodgers' greatest hitter, didn't he?
He did. Ryan Johnson got the start, and the first batter he faced was Shohei Ohtani. What's interesting about this, and we've said it a ton on the show, but just to update everybody, remember that because Ohtani signed with the Dodgers, the Angels made him a qualifying offer, and in return, they get a pick back from the Dodgers. They get a compensation pick. So with that compensation pick, they took Ryan Johnson. So it's funny that the reason why we have Ryan Johnson is Shohei Ohtani going to the Dodgers. Johnson got a call on the outside to strike out Ohtani looking. Now, good thing there was no pitching challenges there, right, Mike? Because it was definitely off the plate, and, they're not doing that, even though these are technically still spring training games. He got a strike three call to Tommy Edman, which was in the zone, and then a ground out to Freddie Freeman for a 1-2-3 inning. Now, to start the second inning, Teoscar Hernandez did hit a solo home run off of him. It was a slider that just really floated at the top of the zone, not enough bite or break to it. Max Muncy was swinging first pitch on every pitch in this game, and it was another slider that just didn't bite. He did strike out Kike Hernandez on the slider, finally got that slider to do what he wanted it to do right there, so it wasn't floating over the zone. Got a fly out to Miguel Rojas and a strikeout to Austin Barnes. All told, Mike, Ryan Johnson threw 47 pitches, 14 called strikes plus whiffs, so swings and misses, 2 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run on the home run from Teoscar, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. This Dodgers lineup made Ryan Johnson work, especially fouling off pitches. But all those foul balls means that Johnson is in and around the strike zone, and that's a very good place to start, especially considering that if this were a year ago, we'd see Patrick Sandoval or maybe even Reid Detmers walking a ton of guys, and that's how they were scoring their runs. But you see Ryan Johnson here only giving up that solo home run and keeping it in the zone. A lot of pitches thrown, but again, some of the best hitters in this Dodgers lineup really made him work.
Garrett McDaniels came in for the third. He had a great sequence of pitches from McDaniels to Shohei Ohtani and struck him out swinging. He went inside and outside with his pitches. He set Ohtani up to swing and miss on a pitch away. And I remember Garrett's a big lefty, got a great windup, kind of throws a bunch of distractions in front of you. And so really got Shohei out in front, swung and missed. And then he got a ground out to Edman, to Newman at shortstop, and then a ground out from Freddie Freeman. 1-2-3 inning on just 13 pitches, Johnny.
Yeah, let's go back to the top of the fourth. McDaniels is back out there. Got a ground out from Teoscar, a single from Muncy, fly out from Kike Hernandez, where Trout made a nice grab in the right field corner, had to watch out for the short wall out there. He did walk Conforto and walk Miguel Rojas. Then there was a grounder to third base that Rengifo had, but it hit off his glove or deflected off his glove. I noticed broadcasters mentioned that that was probably a better play for Kevin Newman to make rather than Rengifo. It should have gotten McDaniels out of the inning, but 2 runners scored. Chris Taylor came in for Shohei Ohtani. He grounded out to third, and Rengifo actually got to that ball and was able to get the final out.
John, your favorite player, Jose Quijada, came in the 5th inning, and I love that every bad guy is always your favorite player. He had an 88 to 94 mile an hour fastball, kind of going up and down. Had a 90 right down the middle to Tommy Edman for a leadoff double, then a ground out to Freeman. Then Teoscar singles to score Edman, and then Max Muncy grounds out. Kike walks, and then Conforto grounds out. John, you tweeted something, and I want to give the floor to you because you have some things that you just need to share. So go ahead.
I tweeted from Locked On Angels. I said, this feels like this is the last time we're going to see Jose Quijada because, like we mentioned before, there's 10 guys competing for spots in the bullpen with 8 up for grab. And Quijada, in my opinion, has to go. You don't need Quijada and his one pitch, his 192 mile an hour fastball. You save money by moving him or DFAing him, because otherwise next year the Angels are going to have to pay him $3.75 million as part of a club option, or they'll have to buy him out for around $1.1 million, Mike. So there's no reason and no sense to keep him there. We talked about how he hasn't earned the spot. And look, I understand last year he was coming back from Tommy John surgery and he wasn't hitting the 96, 98 that he used to. But here we are again. He's still throwing the same fastball. It was at 88 miles an hour at one point last night, and there's just no reason to keep him in this bullpen. And like I mentioned before, maybe you keep Perdomo so that you don't exhaust all of your backup options like Ryan Johnson, but there's no need for Quijada. Zephyr John hit 100 miles an hour last night, so you don't need another flamethrower, quote unquote, because Quijada can't do it anymore anyway. And then Brock Burke came in, who's a lefty. He hit 96 miles an hour last night, which is way more than Quijada's been able to do over the last two years. So, or I should say the last year since he's come back. So I just don't see a world where it makes sense to have Jose Quijada in this bullpen. They might like him. They might enjoy him. They call him spicy, whatever. But if you're a serious team, then you're not having Quijada in your bullpen. If you're an unserious team, then he's going to be there opening day. And I think that's a huge mistake.
Let's talk offense for a moment. I mentioned Taylor Ward had the walk-off hit last night, but he also had a leadoff home run in this game. And John's been cashing his chips on Taylor Ward. And one of the things that John has seen and that we're all seeing now is that Taylor Ward is waiting for that fastball in the zone and he's crushing it. He's not missing it. And so that's really good to see from Taylor Ward. And having him at the top of the lineup, John, does allow him to be in positions like he was last night with a potential game-winning, game-tying run on base, and he can come through in those moments, and he does have a bit of that clutch gene, doesn't he?
I'm just saying, hashtag Ward don't miss, Mike. If it's a fastball in the zone, Ward ain't going to miss it. Let's go.
Yeah, and then speaking of good pitches in the zone, Mike Trout doesn't miss those, and he had a home run last night, a classic Mike Trout swing, 108.1 miles per hour off the bat. And I know that there's a lot of conversations about Trout and the concern for the whole team in general and the strikeouts that they are producing, right? They were the highest strikeout team this spring. Now, in this game, they did have Tyler Glasnow on the mound, who struck out this team in 5 innings 9 different times, right?
Yeah. So real quick, I want to go back to the hit that you referenced. That was a swing below the knees for Mike Trout. That was 108.1 off the bat. But in the bottom of the 6th, Anthony Banda gave up a 109.8 mile per hour home run to Mike Trout, 405 feet. And it was a classic Trout hit. It went to left center field, almost hit that truck that they put out there. And so that was great to see. But the problem is, Mike, Ward struck out right before that. Shonowell grounded out. And I'm still not confident in that number 2 spot when it comes to Trout being up at number 3. What did we talk about just a few weeks ago? How many times does number 3 come up with 2 outs and nobody on? More than any other spot in the lineup. And I think that's a huge problem that the Angels are going to have to address. I say move Trout to 2. What do you say?
I love that move. I I would say move him to 1, but Taylor Ward has already proven himself to be pretty consistent at the leadoff spot. And so having Mike Trout bat behind Taylor Ward and then maybe having Jorge Soler bat third, or perhaps you bring up somebody like a Louis Rengifo who's going to throw the game off a bit and hit some line drives. Like, they can move some pieces around. Maybe even Zach Neto goes there, but I do like having Trout up a little bit higher in this starting lineup. I know that Wash is a traditional guy, so I don't know if that's going to be the decision that he makes, but I think that as the season starts and you're seeing a lot of strikeouts and you're seeing a lot of 2 out, nobody on, you want to give Mike Trout an opportunity. And he's had so many moments, especially last year, where he's hitting home runs, but there's nobody on. And that happened again last night.
Yeah. This is the last night the Angels have before they go to Chicago, and they haven't put Rengifo in that 2 spot yet. So I'm calling it for it tonight. I want to see Rengifo in that lineup at the 2 spot. If they're going to continue with this, Ward, somebody, then Trout, I think that tonight is the night that you try out Rengifo in that spot, because otherwise I think that they're going to have a lot of trouble for that number 2 guy. If it's not Rengifo, I'd love to see them do that tonight.
Well, it is baseball season, but we're also in the middle of March Madness, and FanDuel has given you a chance to get in on every game and all of the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories to who is even cutting down the nets. And if you got your eye on a few underdogs, FanDuel makes it really easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. And with tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel Sports app is easy to download, easy to use, or you can visit their website, FanDuel.com, and get in on all of the college hoops action all tournament long.
Mike, Jeff Fletcher of the OC Register wrote an article discussing 5 key questions the Halos need to answer by the end of spring. We did answer the first one in the first segment, and that is Jack Kochanowicz will be the 5th starter over Reid Detmers. So there are 4 questions left to be answered, and what Jeff believes are the answers. So the first question here is, how is Zach Neto? As camp ended, Neto was hitting and throwing every day. He felt like he was telling people that he felt great. He had 2 big tests remaining. He's been throwing at a distance of 120 feet. He's making standard throws from shortstop to first base. Those are the 2 tests that he needs to go through, and he needs to expand that to making throws from the hole and relay throws from the outfield. He also needs to see some live pitching. I heard Gooby say he got some at-bats, like he took 4 at-bats in a minor league game yesterday, so that's a good sign as well. The Angels plan to give him about 40 plate appearances in the minor leagues, which makes it reasonable to expect him back sometime in mid-April. Do you think that sounds reasonable?
I think mid-April does sound reasonable. It feels fast, and I think Zach Neto is going to want to get up to the major league level pretty fast. I just want him to have his eye at the plate, and I want him to be comfortable swinging the bat.
You called it when he first got hurt. You said it was going to be John Cena coming back from the torn bicep at the 2008 Royal Rumble. So maybe that'll be what Neto does. Hey, what's the plan for Mike Trout? They answered that one with the move to right field, and Trout so far has done really well out there. He loves it. Moniak and Adele are going to play center field, and who gets the most reps out there is actually the bigger question now, because before spring started, it was, where's Trout going to play? And now is it Moniak? Is it Adele? Or is it a combination of both? What do you say?
My gut says it'll be Adele, because that's who they want to run with, although Moniak might be in there pretty often as a kind of a complement to Adele when there is a right-handed batter or right-handed pitcher on the mound. I say trade Reid Detmers for a really great center fielder. Maybe that's actually the move.
Whoa.
Right?
Whoa.
Breaking news. John.
That's a whole other show, Mike. What are you doing?
Third question was, will in year 2 under manager Ron Washington yield better fundamentals for the Halos? Last season, the Halos made plenty of mistakes on the base. They struggled with bunting, although that might have been on the manager, not on them. And fielding. Right. Wash said that they're better, but the thing is that they still have some problems transferring them into the game, and that takes time. But we have a foundation, and the foundation is the fundamentals. John, do you think that this team will be a bit more fundamentally sound this season?
I'm interested to see what happens on the base paths, because that to me was the biggest struggle for the team last year, making careless decisions, careless errors. Heck, even EY Senior was in on the bad decision making over there as third base coach, right, Mike? And so there's a lot of blame, I guess you could say, to go around. But I hope that this year they're more cohesive in their decision making. I feel like the defense improved as the season went on. In fact, I was looking at it the other day, and the Angels had one of the best amount of defensive runs saved among all 30 teams last year. Now their outs above average weren't great. So depending on what you respect more, defensive runs saved or outs above average, that's going to be a point of contention. But at the end of the day, I think that they have built a nice base for them defensively. I will be more interested to see how the base running and the steal decisions go, because you had some great examples. Zach Neto stealing 30 bags, Rengifo stealing a bunch of bags, and then sometimes you had Joe Adell not getting that bag when he's got to get that bag, like Ron Washington said. So that's going to be the most intriguing thing to me for this season.
And then they have the new facilities, and the question was, how much will it help? Johnny, I think it's already helping.
Yeah.
I think it's why they're making the decisions they're making right now with Kochanowicz and getting rid of Suarez and potentially not allowing Quijada to stay in this bullpen. I think it's helping right now. I think that they're probably a bit more analytical and a bit more focused on the tech side of things than they have been in years past, because we're starting to notice that they're not making those same decisions. They're not making, oh, he looks really good, got a great body type of decisions, right? They're making good choices.
Soft hands, right?
Yeah. They're making decisions like pitch efficiency, the strike one, and look at where his release point is. That's the type of stuff that I've wanted to see from our Halos for many, many years. And I know every dayers feel the same way.
Yeah, I think it's going to make a huge difference for them. Like you said, it probably already is. And at least at the end of the day, it's had a great impact on the players themselves, where they feel like, hey, this is big time, right? They're not, eating outside like a school playground, those plastic tables under the, tinfoil shades that you have to sit under, and you're hot anyway, right? This is like big league equipment, big league clubhouse, better kitchen, all that stuff. That's just a way that you treat your players right. And I'm glad the Angels are taking a step in that direction.
Although school cafeteria pizza was really, really good.
It was really good, wasn't it?
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball with our friends Matt and Dom. You can find their show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. It helps out the channel. It puts us in front of other Angels fans who might not know about Locked On Angels. So be sure you help us out that way. Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
Our best friend Logan O'Hoppe spoke on Foul Territory yesterday, and what he had to say made me go, yeah. And so I'm going to share that tomorrow with you on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that conversation. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday.
Speaking of pizzas, we got Totino's pizzas.
Ooh.
Pizzas. We cooked them on Sunday. Felt like I was back in 5th grade.